It is a stormy night on the Mediterranean Sea, as Italian fishermen are weathering the storm, huddled together playing cards and smoking. One man comes to the deck of the ship to do some checks when he sees something floating out in the sea, looking like a man. After dragging the stranger on board, they think he is dead until they see him move. Realizing they may have a chance to save his life, they bring him to their quarters, leaving the doctor to work his magic. The old man carefully removes the stranger's wet suit to see 2 bullet wounds in his back. After carefully removing the slugs, he notices a small lump in the hip of the man. Out of curiosity, the doctor cuts it open and pulls out a small metal cylinder. He gives it a closer look to see that it is actually a laser pointer, which displays a set of numbers. Now curious as to who this stranger may be, he returns to check on him, only to be attacked. The man grabs him, obviously delirious and demanding to know what they have done to him. The doctor calms him down, explaining how he got on the boat and showing him the laser pointer he found. The man is confused. He has no idea where he is, what has happened to him, and worse yet, when asked his name, he has no idea who he is. At the CIA headquarters in Langley, CIA Black Ops head, Conklin, gets the news about a failed assassination attempt against an exiled African dictator named Wombosi. On board the fisherman ship, the stranger has begun living and helping the fisherman, while recovering and trying to remember who he is and what happened to him. The old doctor thinks that it will all come back to him, but the stranger is frustrated. He knows how to do many things, but despite all this, the answer he is looking for is eluding him. He is worried as tomorrow they will come into port, but he does not even have a name to give. The next morning, the boat sails into port in Switzerland and the doctor generously hands the man some money, wishing him best of luck on his journey. With no memories and little cash, he makes his way across the country by train, clutching the laser pointer as his only hope. He gets off in the city of Zurich and with nowhere to go, he sleeps in the park where some policemen come over, demanding to see his papers. He tries explaining that he lost his papers but they still decide on arresting him. Suddenly, like programming, the man jumps into action, taking out the 2 cops easily, surprising even himself. Shocked, he makes a run for it. We then see the heads of the military and the CIA, meeting over the botched execution attempt. On the news, they see Wombosi, explaining how the US government has threatened his family, but promises to get his payback. He adds that he has survived an assassination attempt on his life, which the others in the room think are simply false accusations. After the meeting, the CIA Deputy Director Abbott meets with Conklin regarding the failed assassination, wondering if he has any hand in it. As head of the secretive Treadstone program, Conklin admits that he lost an assassin during the attempt and Abbott is furious, as Conklin has never had to put him in this position before. The stranger heads over to the bank listed on the laser pointer, and gets access to the safety deposit box associated with the account number. Left alone with the box, he frantically opens it to see passports and other items. On one passport he sees the name Jason Bourne with his picture. He removes a false bottom in the safe to see loads of cash, guns, and other multiple passports with different names, all with his picture. He sees another name, John Michael Caine, before deciding to load all the contents of the box into his bag, but leaving the guns. As he leaves, the bank manager observes him intently before dialing a number. Jason steps out into the street, determined to find out more about himself when he spots an officer staring at him intently. He passes more police officers, then sees police cars speeding by and sensing danger, he steps up his pace but trying not to draw too much attention. Cops begin trailing him but before they can close in on him, he turns into the American consulate to get away from them. Inside, Jason is found out by the security chief who attempts to arrest him. Jason pretends to surrender, but swiftly takes out the guards around him and takes a gun. He makes a run for it, taking out another guard and stealing his walkie-talkie to stay ahead of the men. Armed military personnel then enter the building, sweeping the entire building for Jason, who is hurriedly making his way to an emergency escape. He makes it outside, using the fire escape to climb onto the roof but ends up losing his bag in the process. Now having to go down to retrieve his bag, Jason climbs down the broken escape, barely hiding the guards. He then carefully climbs along the building until he reaches the ground, grabbing his bag and making his getaway. Jason comes upon a young woman he saw from inside the consulate complaining about her money issues. He offers her $10,000 to drive him to Paris, which she initially thinks is a joke, until he offers her another $10,000 upon arrival. In Langley, Conklin gets the call about the withdrawal from the bank and is scrambling to find answers. He gets his entire team working on tracking Jason down, scanning all records and security cameras around the city. They get a blurry security picture, but not taking any chances, Conklin decides to activate all his Black Ops agents, demanding to have Jason in a body bag by sundown. The agents are then activated: Costell, Mannheim, and the professor. Jason and the woman, who introduces herself as Marie, are making their way to Paris, with Marie going on about her life and what she has been through. She thinks she is talking too much, but he urges her to continue, noting that he has not spoken to anyone like this in a while, which she finds surprising. She wonders what kind of man pays $20,000 for a ride to Paris, but Jason confesses that he cannot remember anything about his life. Back in Langley, Conklin and his team find video footage of Jason speaking with Marie. They pull up all her details, trying to get a trace on her location and issuing wanted reports for them both. Jason and Marie get to a rest stop where he fully confides in her about what has happened to him recently. He wonders what kind of man he was, to have those items in his deposit box and an account number in his hip, but Marie reassures him that he will get answers soon. They continue on their journey and Jason finally gets some rest. The next morning, they get to the address listed on Jason's passport and park a distance away. They prepare to say goodbye, which becomes very hard since they got so used to each other, so Marie decides to tag along. Jason tries getting into the building where he is met by a woman who recognizes him and welcomes him back. They get the keys to his apartment, but it is empty except for a few items around the house. Marie excuses herself to use the bathroom and Jason contacts a hotel through the phone. He inquires about the names on his passports there, learning that a John Michael Caine was registered but died 2 weeks ago in a car crash. Just then, Jason senses danger, grabs a knife and begins searching the house. Suddenly they are ambushed by Castell, who bursts through a window. Jason tackles him and the two begin to fight. Castell pulls a knife and attacks, but Jason is fast and evades the blade. He grabs a pen and using it as a weapon, he begins to take down Castell with precision until he sends him flying. Jason begins to question the man about who sent him, while Marie checks his bag to see photos of both her and Jason. She begins to freak out and Castell uses the opportunity to throw himself over the railing to his death. Marie is in shock and Jason has to help her downstairs where they see the sweet lady with a gunshot to the head. Conklin gets a call from his logistics technician Nikki about the incident, learning that his man got killed. Marie and Jason get to a train station, and not wanting to get her any deeper in his mess, he urges her to go to the cops and turn herself in. He knows the kind of life that a man on the run has to live and does not want her involved, but Marie has made up her mind that she's in too deep to turn back now. They then see the cops pulling up around them and closing in. Jason gives her last chance to run, but she buckles up for the ride instead. Jason takes off in their little red buggy, driving like a madman with the cops hot on their tail. They are almost cornered but turn into a narrow alleyway where only the bikes can follow. With driving fit for the fast and furious, Jason manages to lose one bike cop, with another on their trail, but eventually he crashes and they find a safe spot in an underground parking lot. Meanwhile, Conklin plants a body to pose as John Michael Caine in a morgue to try and appease Wombosi, but one look and he realizes the plot. Conklin gets the news about Wombosi and feeling the pressure, he assigns the professor to handle him. Jason dies and cuts Marie's hair and slowly the two are pulled to each other and engage in demonetizing activities. The next morning, Marie wakes up to find Jason having wiped the entire apartment for fingerprints, as he is planning to head to the hotel where his alias John stayed to get some information. Meanwhile, Wombosi is planning to release information on the CIA. As he and his bodyguard walks, well-placed bullets from the professor kill him instantly. Seeing that he is technically a dead man, Jason has Marie go inside the hotel, coaching her on how to move and what to look for. She easily gets the records, revealing that she just smiled at one of the employees and got everything she needed. In Langley, Abbott confronts Conklin about Wombosi's assassination, but he lies, saying that it was Jason, as he must have felt compelled to complete his mission. While Jason gets more information, police find the abandoned car in the garage and report it in, and Nikki intercepts the call. Marie and Jason learn about Caine's body recently being deposited at the morgue. They head over and bribe the mortician only to realize the body is missing. He roughs up the morticians and steals the visitation page, learning about Wombosi's visit. They then learn about his death and Jason reads about the failed assassination attempt on Wombosi's yacht, and that the assassin was shot twice in the back during the escape, ultimately realizing that he was the assassin. They try heading back to the hotel, but realizing that cops are onto them, they exit the cab and take a back alley to escape. Marie takes Jason to her friend Eamon's countryside home where he lives with his children and they spend the night. With mounting pressure from Abbott, Conklin turns up the heat on finding Jason, instructing his agents to do everything they can to locate them. After a few hours, they are able to track Marie's location and send the professor to kill them. The next morning, Jason and Marie are ready to go when he learns that the family dog has gone missing. Knowing what's up, he orders everyone to the basement, much to Eamon's surprise and anger, but seeing that Jason is serious, he takes his kids. The phone lines to the house have been cut and Marie begins to freak out, but Jason reassures her that he will not let anything happen to them. He then shoots and blows up an oil tanker as a distraction and sprints through the woods, but the professor, set up in a sniper position, spots him. He tries shooting Jason but misses and decides to move as he knows he is now the one being hunted. The professor sets up in a field, but Jason, causing a diversion, uses the opportunity to close in and shoot the professor, mortally wounding him. Jason wants to know who he is working for and the man reveals that they both work for Treadstone before dying. With this information, Jason sends Marie, Eamon, and the children away for their protection, revealing that he is going to end this. Jason then goes through the professor's bag and finds his cell phone. He calls the last number and Conklin and his men pick up, but instead of hearing the professor they hear Jason on the other line. Jason then orders to have a meeting with Conklin alone in Paris. He gets to the location overlooking the meeting spot, looking for any sign of agents. He makes them all out and decides to abandon the meeting but manages to put a tracker on the agent's van, leading him to Treadstone's safe house in Paris. Conklin decides to move safe houses, and is having his agents including Nikki wipe all documents and shred files. On the street, Conklin's agents are keeping an eye out when all the cars on the block begin to alarm at once. Inside, Conklin and Nikki realize that all the lines are dead, then the power suddenly goes. Conklin grabs his gun and goes looking for Jason, but the assassin ambushes him and disarms him. Jason wants to know why they are trying to kill him but Conklin reveals that they were on the same side until the Wombosi mission. Jason was supposed to be in and out without issue, being the best at what he does, but something happened causing the mission to go haywire. Conklin then begins to press Jason to remember what happened. Jason recalls his attempt to assassinate Wombosi through successive flashbacks. Under orders from Treadstone, Jason infiltrated Wombosi's yacht as Kane, and managed to get close enough to assassinate him. However, Jason was unable to find the nerve to kill Wombosi while his children were present, and instead fled, being shot during his escape. Jason announces he is resigning from Treadstone and warns Conklin not to follow him before knocking him out. As he tries to leave the room, he comes under attack from Conklin's men and is forced to fight his way down, but eventually he defeats them and escapes. When Conklin leaves the safe house, he encounters Mannheim, who kills him under Abbott's orders. Abbott then shuts down Treadstone. Abbott reports to an oversight committee that Treadstone is decommissioned before discussion turns to a new project codenamed Blackbriar. Some time later, Jason finds Marie renting out scooters to tourists on Mykonos, and the two reunite. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.